here we go. Going to talk to Senator Glenn Sterle, who is the chair of the Regional and Rural Affairs and Transport References Committee inquiry into road transport.
Hey, mate.
G'day, Glenn. How you going, mate?
Oh, pretty good, thanks, Cobb. I can't complain, mate.
Yep, that's the go.
Still breathing, that's the main thing.
Yeah, well, for some people, that's a challenge.
Yeah, sorry to hear about your mate.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's
shocking.
terrible.
Yeah, it's been a bad month. It's been a really bad month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, how old was Craig, mate?
Oh, geez. He was about 3 or 4 years older than me. And, he was a wild boy. He certainly knew how to drive trucks very well. And from what I hear, he undid a chain on the loading ramp that holds the loading ramp up. And somehow it's come down and got him in the head.
Oh, shit. Young family?
Yeah, from what I can remember, he's got a daughter. Yeah, it's hard to find out information because, it's the weekend and it's locked down and there's no media.
Bloody hell, mate.
Actually, it just shouldn't happen.
Well, I don't know how it happens to be that despite the drop in traffic, there's still one a week getting killed in these circumstances. I'm not sure how you can mitigate something like that because he was so experienced.
God, the ramp hit him?
Yeah.
So the hydraulic shit itself, did it? The ram shit itself?
I'm not sure.
God, okay.
Yeah. So,
Damn.
no, there was a 22-year-old guy killed down on the Pacific Highway there in between Newcastle and Sydney last week. Well,
Okay.
I think it was the 13th or 17th of March. And then I talked to you the other day about the car going the wrong way at Yass and then two trucks coming together.
Yep.
Well, another one down there in Victoria yesterday, or on Friday, sorry, went the wrong way, hit a couple of cars and a truck, killed a couple of people.
No, it never ceases to amaze me, mate. We can still manage to kill so many people on our roads. Bloody hell. Now, on a different note, mate, how you going?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. There's not much going on up here, so. But trucks are really the king of the road. If you've got a license, heavy vehicle license, you can travel at will across borders. So I guess that's one thing.
Yeah, it's got to be, mate. And we've had a few hiccups, where a couple of overzealous interpretations of the law have sort of slipped in, but it's been fixed up pretty quickly, mate. And that's one good thing. That should be
Yeah.
the lines open anyway.
Yeah. There definitely needs to be some kind of avenue for drivers to report to you. Like, you must get a lot of messages to write such strongly worded letters to the Transport Minister.
Well, I had a flurry of activity starting, we're getting going crazy now, Monday, week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 weeks ago tomorrow, mate, there was some activity, and one of the guys contacted me, and I didn't even know the road houses were being shut down, and then didn't the floodgates open? Oh, gee whiz. So 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we kicked off on it, and fortunately, we've been able to get some action. But fortunately, it's something that we should all be doing. It was a bit slow. The government was a bit slow on the uptake, but they got there eventually, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And all the state governments are working with it. So, yeah, I'm getting bits and pieces, mate, where guys and girls are emailing me or SMSing or messaging on Facebook and Twitter. There's a few hiccups here and there, but the thing is, you've got to raise and people raise them with me, mate. I'm part of the, there's a working group on WhatsApp led by Minister Buckholz, which is good.
Yep.
And he's broadened that group out a bit so we can all, you know, when something happens, we can all get action together. Are we taping now?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, mate.
No, you're all right. Yep.
I better make sure I don't swear.
No, you're all right.
Yeah, look at that. Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to swear with all the truck drivers. So last time, an example, I got a message, around 7-ish, one of the roadhouses on the Great Northern, Payne's Find, and by all intents and purposes, the proprietor of Payne's Find has been doing a marvellous job keeping her restaurant open for the truckies, and she got a visit yesterday from the police and was told to shut it down or she was going to get fined, so she contacted the head of Western Roads Federation over here, Cam Dunsey. Real good guy, really doing a fantastic job, him and his crew. So he messaged me straight away and we had it sorted within half an hour. I was able to get to the police minister and just through contacts, and she grabbed it with two hands and it was fixed very, very quickly. So we need to hear these things, you know,
Yeah.
get the information, raise it, and there's been other things raised. But anyway, I'll let you throw a few questions around or whatever, mate.
Well, I was talking to an owner driver today that tows tankers, and he wants to talk to you. The rate is $880 for a single from to Melbourne for a fridge van, and it's $2,200 to $2,300 to go up, right?
No, I don't get this.
Now,
Anyway, see.
He's a subby for a tanker crew, right? That I won't name, but
Sure.
there's a couple of other tanker mobs that are cutting the rate to steal all the work, right?
Surprise, surprise.
They've knocked their hourly drivers down from $27 an hour to $24 an hour flat.
Because of the pandemic, this is their excuse.
Yep.
Well, they did it before.
Well, this is what they're doing now. So,
Okay.
so I was talking to him today. So,
Give me my number, mate.
yeah, I will.
Yep.
So,
Can you give me a buzz?
yeah. So when it all goes back to normal, if it does, when do you think that will be? Months away?
Crikey, mate. Oh, mate, I can only, all I can go, what we read in the papers, I'm the same as everyone else. So, you know, there's hope. There's some crazy stories going around. There's some irresponsible, ridiculous stuff where people are, you know, and look, Channel 7s and 9s, and these have to take some, so they've got to show a bit of responsibility here. You know, they're reporting on things. I'm reading things where all of a sudden scientists are working around the clock to find a vaccine, and we're going to pick up the paper tomorrow and this is their own nuts. I wouldn't have a clue, mate. Sure. I've got no idea.
Well,
but I'm looking forward to getting back to normal.
We were looking at some of the math around the virus and the drivers, the 208,900 truckies in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if 10% of those get it, right, that's 10,000 drivers. If only 10% get it, right?
Yep.
And so it's going to be hard to muster 10,000 drivers to come out of retirement or to go onto the road for what they get now. Like if you're getting $24 an hour flat, it's not worth going out there for them, is it?
Well, Steve, you wouldn't get an argument from me, but unfortunately, we've got a guy that are doing it. Now, I know, mate, you know, I've been around a long time. I know the arguments, you know, when men and women are desperate and need to feed their families. The thing is, there has been some terrible, shocking practices of underpayment. I'll call it what it is, mate. I'm not interested in academics getting worried of the term wage theft. It's there. It's alive and it's well and it's blossoming in the transport industry long before this pandemic.
Yeah.
The saddest part, mate, and I don't get this, when we've got a lot of work, when we have a lot of work in the transport industry, how do these companies is who want to screw the living daylights out of the drivers, still find drivers to drive for them. I'm not going to know an answer to that, mate, because I sure as hell I wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, how do they come up with all these billions of dollars to bail out or to prop up multinational companies, right, where they're not taking a nationalised stake in the venture, but they can't build the infrastructure here for the truck drivers to have safe parking areas to sleep?
Oh, mate, it's the old one, isn't it? This one's been around for a long, long time, don't be chatting, mate. And now, look, I know people say now's not the time, but let's just say it as it is within the transport industry, and I have said this many occasions, Steve, the transport industry does not have a unified voice in this nation. Now, there will be some who will take offence to that, and they know who they are, and I'm very happy to continue having this argument with them, because if we had a unified voice, not the bullshit that gets put out in emails and Twitter about some mob that represent hundreds of thousands and, they're the peak transport body. Well, they've got a lot to answer for, mate. If they're the peak transport body, why are we in such a shit mess? Why do we have a basic instrument in this nation called the award, which I've got to tell you, the payment in the award is crap.
Yeah.
And, you know that, and so do a lot of your listeners know that, mate, a lot of your mates. But we don't even have the ability to enforce the award in this race, in this nation. And we know who they are, to a lot of the mate companies paying under the award. This is before I even fire up on the kilometre rate, and I will have my detractors here. When you're getting paid by the kilometre, that's great if you're getting paid every kilometre, but and then I hear all the bullshit arguments about, your loading and unloading is included in the kilometre rate in some instances. It probably is. But I've got to tell you, Steve, when this is all over, mate, there will be a lot of names being mentioned, because I have been flooded with truck drivers. Can't wait to tell me their companies. I don't want it out yet publicly, and I've guaranteed them. We'll go through the inquiry first, and we'll do all that.
Yeah. So you're still getting drivers sending you emails, though? They're still...
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all. Let me say it. It's dried up in the last 2 weeks, because the correspondence I'm getting, the calls and the emails, it's around the COVID-19 disaster that we have and how it's affected the transport industry. Prior to this outbreak, mate, I've got guys and girls that are sending me info, mate, and I've got it in my possession. Yeah. And some of these rorts,
yeah. Well, there's 102 submissions on the Senate website now for people to read. So that's a lot, and there's a lot of information on, like Jerry Brown. So, like you mentioned, his is, 27 pages or 54 pages long.
I read every single page of Jerry's.
Yeah. So it's important that drivers can still send an email to the Senate and be involved, so that when it comes back in and comes back on, it'll be full noise again.
It will be full noise again, mate.
Yep.
The harsh reality is that we've got this unprecedented disaster unfolding around the world at the moment. It's captured a lot of people's imagination, and certainly, but when it's all over and done with, mate, I'm not backing off. I've got a lot of work to do, and we've got to get this industry to stand up as one voice, and we have not, as I said, got this one voice. There are a lot of truck drivers, and I've read lots of comments, and people said to me, we'll do nothing, and it was a waste of time. Well, what attitude is being blown around? Yeah, we could be a waste of time, but let me tell you, mate, I can shut my eyes, Steve, and I can say this, mate, to be said at meetings. I can shut my eyes in 10 years' time, 5 years' time, 20 years' time, and they'll all be whinging about the same thing, and no one doing anything. Well, now, the thing is, there are more good people that want to do things than there are ones who sit back and just watch it all go by and make a lot of comment on the radio or on keyboards or something. Well,
Frank Black just came out with a really good article sponsored by the TWU talking about the ATA and how they don't really represent drivers, that he was the owner-driver representative for 14 years and he is struggling to get them to acknowledge the drivers, they're more acknowledging the 5,000 company owners. And I've found that as well, that I've tried to be invited or have asked to be invited to these roundtables and conferences, calls and stuff, just to listen in to find out what they're talking about. And I'm not getting able to have access to these things, and neither is Frank.
And Steve, I know Frank very well. I've known Frank for many, many years. A real decent guy, mate. Real decent.
Yep.
And I'll let Frank have those conversations. I'll just add that there are organisations who are very good at looking after their members. Now, who their members may be, but when all is said and done, who is looking after or representing the guys out there on the highway? And there's a number of organisations, as you know. There's TWU, there's the National Road Freighters, NAT Roads have members. This is what I'm saying, mate. Clearly when I've held these two transport industry standard forums, mate, and part of the wording in the inquiry that I've put through the Senate is that I want to hear from the men and women who have the steering wheel in their hands.
Yep.
Everyone has a contribution to play with that. But this is what I say, mate. When it gets down into Canberra, there is no voice for the men and women out there on the highway.
Yep.
No way to do about that.
Yep. On the Friday, the 12th of April 2013, so 7 years ago, I went to Parliament House in front of the petition committee, and I gave them evidence to support my petition, and then that went to Bill Shorten and Anthony Albanese, and they both wrote back and sent me to the RSRT. And it was also repealed in April in 2016 on the 17th of April. So April was not a good month for transport, and the sad part of the reality of the lockdown is when we come out of it in October, what happens in October 2020 is we've got the Lights on the Hill truck convoy up here for Gatton, which is my local memorial for Queensland, and they have the biggest convoy. That I think the last one I went to has 600 trucks there, and that's on the 3rd of October. And then we've got Tarcutta National Memorial on the 31st of October. And because of COVID-19, the Victorian Truck Drivers Memorials had to postpone from June to October.
Hoping that we're able to continue.
That's right. That's if we're out of lockdown by October. Now, the South Australian Memorial Day is a week either side. So I think it's 4 weeks in a row. Like it's going to be hell. It's going to be a month of hell. All these convoys and all these memorials. So far, I was talking to Bet Phillips Campbell yesterday, and she is responsible for having truck drivers' deaths classified as workplace deaths. It starts this year, and she was saying that they've had 17 workplace fatalities in Victoria this year already. They had 23 last year all up.
Just in Victoria.
Just in Victoria.
Yeah.
Now, with Craig being killed on Thursday, here's the issue that I have, is that he is living in Canberra, working for a Canberra mob, but he gets killed in New South Wales. And if I had that problem, if I was working for that mob, but I've got a Queensland licence, working for a Canberra company, and I die in New South Wales in a South Australian registered truck, how do we correlate that information correctly? Which state does it belong to? Does it get lost in the system?
Yeah. Well, good question, Rose, mate. On my limited knowledge, I would say that it would go into the state where the death was had under the Workplace Occupational Health and Safety. But I know where you're arguing to, Steve, but also, and this has been an argument of mine for many, many years, any and we call it, it's when we classify a death in a truck to a rollover or head-on or anything like this, it is a road statistics. The death is marked against our road safety statistics, which is wrong in a lot of ways. It needs to be under workplace occupational health and law. Our truck is our workplace, and it has just suited whoever they may be, the legislators, government, states, federal. No one has put their mind to this and stood up and said we're going to change it. And you see, this all goes back to my argument here too, Steve. And some may agree, some may disagree. While we do not have a unified voice for this industry in our nation's capital, it can all be thrown into the mix, and we don't get things fixed. We don't get things done. These things have to be brought up. No one has stood up there and been able to champion from the industry. When they speak with the voice of the industry. And what I said very clearly in my role as the Shadow Assistant Minister going into the last election, things will be done differently, and I've said that. It's gone into print in a number of journals. Things would be done differently because I would have a working group, and that working group would have representation of each state and each the employers' representatives, the owner drivers. I made it very, very clearly that CWU and the National Road Fragrance Association and NatRoads and all the state associations would be on that working group. Because I can sit there and think I know all the problems and know all the answers, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Of course I don't. But let me tell you this, Steve, I've got a far greater idea than most of them in Canberra.
Yeah.
And the first thing you need to do is consult widely with the men and women who do this day in and day out.
That's right. That's right. That's why I annoy you with lists of people and their phone numbers.
And, and you're allowed to do that. Keep it coming, mate.
Well,
the last couple of weeks just put
straight on things. Yeah, I'm hoping there's a great deal of many people that come forward. Of course, Professor Michael Quinlan, and to talk about his report, because I think that all the work that went into that over the many years to bring about that legislative reform through evidence and through proper investigation by someone like Professor Michael Quinlan, that there hasn't been anything to really index what the problems are, and I think that what your report, or what this report's going to show, is that Professor Michael Quinlan's report has only increased in age, and the data in it, the numbers have increased somewhat.
Well, I'm aware of Michael's, Professor Quinlan's work for many, many years, and I know when we were introducing fatigue management over here in the mid-90s, that was all part of his work tailed off on that too, because there are people that argue, and there will be truck drivers out there that argue against me here, but it's as clear as the nose on anyone's face that when you are paid an incentive rate, as in kilometres, it can lead to issues where laws can be broken. Now, I'm not saying everyone out there on kilometres break law, of course I'm not saying that. But if you are incentivising your pay to go quicker, well, it's human nature.
Yeah.
But some people will go quicker, and some people will cut corners. But I'll go back to this. I'll go back to this one, Steve, very clearly. The current situation is unsustainable. The way that, and taking out the trauma that we're experiencing around the world and around our nation at the moment, and lockdowns and everything needs to be done. Hopefully we'll be fixed quickly. But one thing you and I both know, when we get back to where we were before, there will be a lot of shit rates being paid out there. There will be drivers being exploited. There will be companies being shafted. There will be the top of the supply chain screwing down the transport operators even more. Every problem we faced before will still be there. And I think now one of my next areas when I want to train my mind to is I think now more than ever is a time we should be calling as a nation for our truck drivers to be paid very, very quickly, and our trucking companies. I mean, our drivers, the majority of our drivers on wages and that, paid weekly, fortnightly, and now is the time where we need bills to be paid for our drivers. Now some people are going to say, oh, isn't that harsh, that's a bit rough. Why is it a bit rough? It's our truckies stop. Well, that's it. And let's not forget another thing too, Steve, that I'd like to mention. While our truckies are out there working their backsides off and doing what they do best, and we're now finally being recognised as essential services, which we've all argued for many, 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 many years. But what about the fear in the truckies' minds when they're out there? What about the fear of them going back home and bringing that terrible disease into their home?
Yeah. And
I'm hearing stories, mate, where their drivers still contacting me, where their companies aren't providing, hand wash, trucks are still being hot seated and all this sort of thing. Most, when I hear a lot of them are doing an extraordinary job, and a lot of them bursting their backside to make sure their drivers are safe. And a classic example, turn your mind to this one, is our local PUD fleet. Now, I hadn't even thought about the PUD fleets when we were going on about the truck stops being closed and not being able to have a shower and use a toilet and get a sit down, feed and manage our fatigue and all that sort of stuff. But I was doing a radio interview in Perth here, Steve, and there was a driver on before me who was a local driver. And like he said he's living a nightmare because he didn't name, I didn't know who he was, and he didn't name his company. He said they're not providing me any safety gear. He said, but not only that, I've got 30 to 40 clients I service regularly. He said, they're treating me as a pariah now. I'm not allowed in the front door. I've got to drop everything outside. He said, that doesn't worry him. But he said that he reads that this bug living on the cardboard carton's going to last 2-3 days. And he said, and I'm handling hundreds of parcels a day. He said, what about me? And you start thinking, like, oh, yes, it's all of us, mate.
Yeah. I've got a mate, his wife has asthma, and he hasn't been home for about, 2 weeks now, and he won't be going home until after, because even if he might be asymptomatic and just give it to her. So he's not going home. So, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of drivers like that. Like there's plenty of hospital staff that aren't going to see their families because they don't want to infect their family.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm hearing that all the time. Every day I'm hearing that. And every day I'm thinking that. Yeah. And you have to think to yourself, my God, imagine, getting it and then taking it home. Oh.
That's right. That's right.
And the misinformation that started, I just want to say this, I think the governments around the nation are doing a very good job. There's been the odd slip up here and there. They were a bit slow to get going, and they've all kicked in, and congratulations to all of them taking this serious, But, there's still this great unknown out there. Like you said, this truckie, this poor bugger that's not going home because his wife's got asthma. He wouldn't be the only one.
No. Well, the NHVR have come out and said that they're still going to crack down because, of course, there's a lot of parts of the industry are going gangbusters, right? All the fridges are going flat out, and all the. I know that the orange mob that runs up and down the coast, they're going harder than they go at Christmas time and New Year, and the brothers out of Coffs Harbour with the fridges, they're going crazy work as well. So there's that part of it. And I'm sure drivers are stepping up and doing their bit. But I think that there should be an initiative that during this time that any driver that's killed should be automatically put on the national memorial, and that fee should be somehow not put on the family, because at the moment the family has to pay to have a plaque put on the national memorial.
I didn't even know that, Steve.
Yeah. It's not a great fee, but I'm not even sure exactly what it is, and I know that the cost to maintain the walls at Gatton and where are they? There's a new one in Tasmania just got built, and they just had their Memorial Day. I think it was in November or December, so we missed that one. It got to run, but the rest, it must cost a lot of money to maintain them, I'm sure. And the committees like Doug McMillan and Pam McMillan from Tarcutta that run the wall down there, it must be a huge job to look after it because there's so many walls there now. It's so, I think there should be an initiative on that these guys are recognised losing their lives at this time. But it's moved on from being a regular everyday thing that they get killed. Oh yeah, the motorway was shut for 4 hours, but it's all good now.
Yeah, isn't that sad? Yeah. Isn't that sad? See, me being here in WA, I only hear it once in Western Australia. We don't even hear, unless you let me know or other drivers let me know. It's not reported. And why is it in 2020? that another truck has gone over, another head-on or another whatever has killed another truck driver, and it's just part of doing business. Where is it in our psyche, in the Australian psyche, where we think this is okay, it's just part of doing business? It's not okay. It's definitely not okay. And look at our road toll. Our road toll is not even, the 1,500 people we kill, 12 to 1,500 a year, and the 30,000 that are injured and maimed and blind in this nation is all part of doing business.
That's right.
When does it ever fall off the front of politicians' mind that this is not all right? And let's not lay blame on it. You can't lay blame. But we still, there should not be, we shouldn't be accepting that every time there's a road death, okay, there's another one, so here we go. Yeah. So we could go on all day about this one.
Like the rail, right? That XPT crash down at Wodonga or wherever it was there the other day, Wangaratta or wherever it was, where the XPT came off and killed the driver and the pilot, where they'd switched the tracks out, right, to the loop. And the XPT went into the loop. It was 15 kilometre hour limit and it hit it over 100. Now, from what I read, the bushfires took out the old copper wire into the signals and they hadn't been replaced, and that's why they were running on the pilot system. Like, surely when they want to put more freight on the rail, they should show a bit more 21st century technology than running a pilot because the copper wire wasn't there anymore. It just seems so strange to me that they'll put everyone's lives at risk to run a invalid system.
I'll tread carefully on this one.
Yeah, I guess you have to, yeah.
In Senate estimates in February, because there is an investigation, because two people lost their lives. I won't make any comment, mate, until the work of the ATSB is completed, just out of respect for the family.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll sort of,
but those, though that kind of accident or any accident can be investigated by the ATSB, and then there's a report, and then they'll change their practices and protocols, and they'll introduce a different system that's safer and so that these problems won't happen anymore. But in the transport industry, like for instance when Dane Ballinger was killed last year, it was because of the design of the stopping areas where they are, and there's no safe place off the road. Now, several more drivers have been killed, not in that location, but in the same way. And we need parking bays in these specific areas, like Rod Hannafy said. So how can we pressure the government to start an infrastructure package to save these drivers' lives from fatigue by putting them off the road enough to have a sleep where they won't get killed?
Well, that's a very good question to ask, because this has been going on for many many years, and I'm very well aware of the work that Rod does, and Rod was one of the first witnesses to our first hearing down there in Albury, and look, a really good guy, and talking to Rod with the work that he's done on his own game, and I cannot for the life of me remember the figure, but something for him, he was doing the Pacific, or he was doing one of the other highways, and he wanted to do it, and he said he could do it for a measly sum of about 15 grand, and he's lobbied and he's written letters to politicians, and they're just not interested. This is what I call the low-hanging fruit, for want of a better phrase. I'd said very clearly, if there had been a change at the last government, this would be foremost on our minds too. Because these truck roads, let's just be right to the point here, Steve. For Christ's sake, they're not major infrastructure projects. They are as cheap as bugger. It's the case, get some land, run the bloody grader across it, bitumenise the damn thing, put some lighting in it, and put a toilet and something. You know what I mean? It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And I, for the life of me, cannot find one argument from any politician whether it's, hey, don't let the state governments off too. We're all part of it, you know, and I know you don't, but, you know, this goes back to what I'm saying, mate. There is not a unified voice for this industry in Australia. If we had sorry, Steve, you go, mate.
Well, how many guys do you need in a group? Like, how many drivers have to come forward?
Well, no, they don't have to. What they do is the government needs to now. At this time when we're all in together, and I'm mindful of this, when this is over, it goes back to before the pandemic started. It needs drive from the National Parliament. Canberra must, you need a champion that's going to stand there and say, I want to hear from the transport industry, the trucking industry, the road transport. I want a group of them. And it doesn't take that much. To answer your question, simple. It goes back to my theory. You have this in the room, a working group, a round table, the state organisations, the NatRoads, the TWU, and you've just about got every angle covered amongst all the memberships of all those groups. In fact, you've got every sector of our industry covered, and you take advice from them. And what I'd said leading into the last election was very clearly that there is more that unites the sectors of the transport industry than that divides us. When all is said and done, Steve, we all want to get out, work safely, get home safely to our families, and get paid properly. No lot more than that, is there?
Right.
Well, there's a lot of white noise around, and you and I have heard this at truck stops, and telephone calls and Twitter and all that. Take the white noise out. Find the 4, 5, 6 things that actually matter to the industry, and they'll range from infrastructure, and they'll range from payments, and where do we find the next drivers, and what do you do about these bastards that go broke on us and then fire up as another company the next day, the mongrels will get away with it. Address the 4, 5, 6 important things, and you know what, mate? Once those 6 things are done, I'm telling you now, Steve, everything else just falls into place.
Yeah.
And truck bays and rest areas is so simple. You can see millions and millions of dollars flying through Canberra at standard estimates on projects that it always amazed me how they come to an actual figure that's either 183.4 million or 261.92 million. I don't know how they do that, but they do that. So what would be hard about getting rest areas in this nation, mate? For Christ's sake, it's not hard. It's not a massive spend. So what if it's half a $1 billion? So what if it's $200 million? So what if it's $80 million? I don't know how much it is.
Well, Anthony Albanese wrote, right, when I went to the Parliament in 2013, he wrote an opinion piece in the Sydney Morning Herald or something like that, right, and I took it in there with me and I quoted it. $2.6 billion a year just in truck driver deaths alone to the national economy. So in 7 years, what's that, $14 billion in truck driver deaths to the national economy. And they accept that. And the evidence that I gave to the RSRT was that it is more financially viable for your truck driver to be killed and the truck to be destroyed and the load destroyed than for the truck to be repairable and the driver only to be injured. It's much more cost effective if your driver is killed because you get the compensation payout, the superannuation payout, the insurance pays out. But if the driver loses his leg and the truck's only bent, they'll spend minimum on it to get it back on the road. Meanwhile, it's off the road for 2 months, and the driver's on compensation, 70% of his wage until that runs out, and then it's a burden to work cover if they're entitled to work cover. Because I've been denied work cover for my injuries, and I know that there's other submission authors that specifically talk about their denial from work cover for their claims because they muck around with the wording of it.
So go back to this. And that's a very important issue. And each state has their own escape clauses and all sorts of things going on. But let's go back, and I can only talk about what Australia did when I was out there doing the job. But let's go back to this one. There is roles to play for state governments to be active. Some state governments are very active within the road transport sector. Some are absolutely bloody appalling. And your listeners and your mates would all know who they are. And I've got to tell you this, mate. I reckon New South Wales would have to be number one, wouldn't they, what I hear? Anyway.
Well, the New South Wales police force is the 5th largest police force on planet Earth. So, of course, anyone that drives into New South Wales roads takes risk of, being intercepted by a policeman on the road just because there is so many of them. So, and with the task forces and Operation Austrans and Operation Rolling Thunder and all these other operations that they run against truck drivers, look, the largest police operation in Australia's history was against truck drivers. Wasn't against organised crime, wasn't against anything like that. So, and from the statistics that I'm sure the Parliamentary Library could find, that the statistics show that since Grafton, when all those people got killed in the bus crash, and the ATA was formed, and they brought about speed limiters, and they brought about all these different changes. As that culture got stamped out of taking amphetamines and all that kind of stuff, like that reflects now in the figures, the fatality rate's going up for some reason, and when they introduced the National Heavy Vehicle Law, the statistics went down a little bit. And then they increased, and then the Road Safety Remuneration Order number 1 came out and they went down. They dropped. And then they started to rise again, and then all hell's broken loose since then. And I think there needs to be a body, like an accreditation body, like the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration in America, where they accredit the companies and accredit the drivers, and you can disendorse the companies and disendorse the drivers for bad practices.
You'll try this shit out of a fair chunk of the industry here, Sterle.
Well, look, I mean...
You're spot on, mate.
Well, if you...
Can I throw this at you?
Yeah?
Well, can I just throw this at you, mate? And for want of, not wanting to sound like a broken record, but the transport industry in Australia, let me just, the view according to Sterle for about 1 minute. And I used to say this when I was a truck driver. I used to say it when I was a union organiser. I'm staying now 15-year senator. We're very good mates at jumping, barking, cowtailing, whatever we need to do for the clients, we will do. We will give you all the productivity gains in the world, and guess what? We'll even give you a friggin' freight discount to perform these duties. Can't wait to give you money back. And now I'm being very sarcastic, and you've got that speech.
Yeah.
Because you know why, mate? Because this industry is so fractured. It suits a heck of a lot of governments if the industry is fractured, then they don't have to sort you out and deal with you and listen to you and do things, for crying out loud, and spend money to make things safer and more productive. It goes back to a very simple plan that I have, mate. You pick out the 4 or 5, 6 key issues that affects our industry, and watch the others fall into line and get sorted out. Once there is, 1, political will to make it happen. 2, the industry gets its shit together and starts speaking from one as one voice. Yeah. Sorry, mate, make it sound like that. All the other stuff's all good ideas. Everything's a good idea that saves lives and keeps our truckies safe and makes us profit. for God's sake, we mustn't mention the word profit before we really start getting kicked off. And I know that it sounds like I might be just trying to blunt an argument here, there and everywhere. As I said, there are a lot of white noise, there's a lot of darn good ideas, but while the industry's fractured, no one has to do a thing from government point of view.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll continue to be the travelling circus, mate. I'm sad to say, but that's... And maybe I'm just getting too old and grumpy, I'm not sure. But, mate, I've been in the industry all my life, and it ain't getting any better.
Well, I mean, now I can't even go to my mate's funeral. Like, sure, I can jump in a truck and I could go down into New South Wales and go to his funeral, but, you know, that means his mum or his dad or his brother or his sister can't go. Like, and so what I think is that these guys that are losing their lives are not even getting a media report about it. Not even getting a media report. So it needs to be accounted for when it's time to account for it, at least. But in the meantime, like, because the media is so focused on this pandemic, and it should be in all rights, but there's other things that are happening to the society. And, you know, these guys getting injured and killed are very valid because, you know, not only are they my friends, of course, but without them, we're not going to have the supply chain which everyone tested just with toilet paper. So,
yeah, how mad was that? Well, how mad is that still? But I understand, I do understand, mate, our focuses are all on this terrible situation we are as a nation now.
How come the fuel price hasn't dropped down for diesel under $1 a litre when the price of oil is so low? Are they still gouging, or?
Let me tell you this, mate, it's not through the general spirit and good-heartedness of BP and Chevron and Mobil and Shell and all them. No, because there's a price war going or production war going between the Saudis and the Russians, mate. It's pretty simple. Don't start me on the fuel companies, mate. That will go into a whole new, different direction.
Yeah. Well, I know that while it's a good time for freight movement, because everyone can only eat at home, really, so they're taking their supplies home with them from the shop. So those supply chains are going gangbusters. But how, with the maritime workers, like, you have a lot to do with them. Like, how are they going? Like, are they getting all stuck on the ships? Are we not hearing about it? Because from what I hear, there's a couple of ships over there they wouldn't unload because they'd only been at sea for 12 days and stuff.
I don't blame them, mate. No, there was one here last night in Perth. It had come in from Taiwan. It hadn't been at sea for the 14 days. It got in. I'm just going off memory last night watching it. Today would have been the 14th. I think today would have been the 14th day. Yeah. It was reported yesterday that they'd come off the ship from Taiwan the night before. Now, the law is the law. It's 14 days. And, you know, they have the same problem as us, mate. Those wharfies, they're going on to the ships. The seafarers, the wharfies, I mean, bloody oath, they're handling all that stuff too, mate. So they've got the same problem as us. Yeah. And I will say this, mate. I myself, I wouldn't touch anything coming from China at the moment.
Oh, it's crazy.
I can understand them. So, and you know what? It goes not out that. What about this one, Qantas? Qantas health and safety rep was. Yeah, what did they do? They took something about the COVID-19. They raised concerns. Qantas sacked them. I mean, what sort of a mongrel does that? Now look at the situation we're in. So everyone has we're all panicked by this thing. You know, we're all panicked. And you can see this when you see our main streets and everything's shut down and most people are doing the right thing and, you know, socially distancing most, and I'm not saying all, but this is pretty true.
Oh, it's well, you know, I gave up watching the news. I flick onto YouTube every now and then to check the live thing, and we watched it go from 199,000 cases to 1,099,000 cases worldwide, and I was kind of a bit taken aback because it took 2 weeks for Australia to reach Australia's truck driver death count for 2020, right? So COVID-19 took a couple of weeks to take what took us a couple of months to do in truck driver deaths. Now, it's overtaken it because I think we've had 30 COVID-19 deaths, but we've had over 30 deaths in the transport industry, but not truck drivers.
Right.
It was 17 at my last count, but I'm always behind because my internet's so slow to find these news articles, if they are at all. So it's hard to keep track of them all, and I think that's how they in a way watered down in the media that it's such a big deal into no, it's not that big deal, because you try and pick it out of the road toll, and it's hard when you look at the statistics in the pie charts and the graphs where the truck drivers are, and then so you look at Safe Work Australia and all these other reports, and then you read that there's disclaimers in there about some aren't added for this reason or that reason, so it's not completely accurate. And surely if we can track these COVID-19 cases, we can track how many of our own guys are getting killed on the road. There's only 208,900 of them.
Yeah, of course. But also, once this is all over, Steve, we've got a lot of work to do, mate. No, I'm still very mindful of the situation our nation and the world is in at the moment. But I will say this, mate, there is a lot of things we can do. I won't take the foot off the pedal. I'll continue on my dream that we can bring the industry together. Two is, well, put it this way, the government's not going to help us. We've got to do it ourselves. And that was the challenge I had thrown out prior to May last year. And there was a willingness. There was definitely a willingness. And I have to say this thing. There was a willingness from those who weren't willing before to start saying we have to change things. And when we say change things, we have to grab the attention of the politicians. There will be a very clear difference between both parties at the next election, as there was last time. And just say, look, mate, there are certain industries that have a well-worn path to the Treasurer's office and the Prime Minister's office.
Yep. And you think
issues imprinted into the carpet, and they're in and out all day, every week, sitting week there.
I'm
for the road transport industry.
I'm sure there's a couple of knee prints there somewhere too.
Now, I'm trying to pick us all above board.
Yes.
When this is all over and done with, then we can get into that, mate. I'm happy to.
Okay, here's a question, right? Now, you're the WA senator, so you're the federal guy, right? Now, Victoria, right, they're Labor, at the moment. Andrew, what's his name? Dino Andrews, right?
Yeah.
Now, they've got the contractors and forestry's determination thing, right? Yeah?
That they do,
Yeah. Now, why don't they just make it into legislation that you can't go in and out of Victoria unless you're on that rate?
I'd have to leave that to the Victorians to decide, mate.
Well, I mean, that way...
But
here's the thing, is that the TWU should be pushing that agenda because they lost the 30-day payment and that kind of thing when we all got stabbed in the back. Well, yeah, but I mean, I was there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, what happened and what went down at the RSRT was a strange thing for someone that's not a lawyer, never been to a Fair Work hearing, never been around a group of barristers before, and to try and navigate your way through a hearing or a mention or even a conference. It's quite daunting.
Yes, it is, mate.
And so after the 3 years of going there, and to see what goes down and how it all happens behind the door that you're not invited into. So that's what I found, in that they'll spend 2 weeks arguing to dot the I, but they won't argue that 2 guys getting killed this week's bad. And so when I on the channel, I posted all the audio from the hearings in November so everyone can hear them, and it's had 20,000 views. So there's people listening to what was said in Albury.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I've put all those up in their own episodes. So Jerry and all of them. So there's a lot
Any feedback on it, mate?
Yeah, a lot of positive people saying good things about Chris Rowe and the other guys, and commenting that it's good to hear it, and they want to hear more. So and there's more people listening in. So because I'm putting more and more content on there for people to disseminate for themselves. Like a lot of people won't go into the human rights report and read it. They want to hear the post-it note version.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The executive summary in less than 100 words.
Well,
the best part about our trucking families, mate, say it simple, say it as it is, because our truckies don't talk all that bullshit, mate. And the amount of truck drivers and families I've spoken to over the years, mate, they don't want all that bureaucratic waffle shit. They just want to hear it straight as it is.
Yeah.
And you know what, mate? It's not hard. We know the problems. We know the solutions.
Yeah.
We just have to have the political will to make it happen. Unfortunately, it's not there at the moment.
It's really hard for me when I see the same crew that were the table opposite the drivers, say, the table opposite the owner drivers and myself and the union. They're the same crew that's still operating now. They're still the same guys that go to the same meetings for these same associations.
Can I throw something in there, Steve? And since when Bill gave me the road safety systems for road safety, but part of it was to fix up the mess that had been left when Michaelia Cash and Malcolm Turnbull had conned the trucking industry to throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Right. So I will say this, mate, and I have been approached by proponents of the RSRT, and look, before some of your listeners get their jobs and not, I've made it very clear that the intent of the RSRT I fully supported. Unfortunately, the order that came out, and that mad woman that was just not listening to anyone, killed it all off, and it was a feeding frenzy.
Yeah.
It was an absolute con job. But let's get back to where we are.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say, mate, the majority of the proponents of the RSRT at that time have now sat with me. Now, whether it be in the first Transport Industry Standards Forum, the second one I held in Canberra, whether it be in personal private meetings I've had with them, whether I've been speaking at their conferences, have all agreed. Not all of them. There are a number that aren't. There are a couple that aren't. Have agreed what a disaster.
Yeah.
What have we been left with? How could we be conned to think get rid of the RSRP and we'll put the money into safety cams? Yeah. How's that work out? So I say this, mate.
But I mean, this is what
working relationships with these people now.
But here's the thing, right? The money, right? Because it's all about the money, right? For them. Now, so it's not about the money that they took away from Fair Work Australia and gave to the NHBR and whatever program here and there that they cherry picked, right? Because that kind of money is nothing to them. Whatever it was, 400 million or 4 million.
No, 4 million.
Yeah, it was only 4 million. That's right.
Couple of truck bays.
That's right. So now that the NHVR has to be self-sufficient through its fines and penalties and through its permits and stuff like that, now that they've granted different running costs because of COVID-19, they're going to be having to look up that shortfall some way. So either the NHVR will have to look out for a handout from the federal government, or they're going to have to look at squeezing drivers' wallets even harder. And here's my problem, Glenn. Like, I think the WA system's got it right in a lot of ways. I do. Like, I prefer to work over there, and during the mining boom, I was running cranes out of Franna at Brisbane when they built them to WA for the mining boom. Couldn't get enough new Franna cranes, right, to build the mine stuff. And that's what I was doing, just road trains of cranes. And what I liked about the system is the roads, the way it runs, the way the guys treat you, the way the police treat you, the way you're allowed to run your own fatigue. The parking bays are a kilometre long, and it's built for PBS, the whole system. And even the way the roads are built out on the Nullarbor, like, you won't find a pothole on the Nullarbor because the guys got out there and there was nothing to do, so they built it right the first time.
It's been a long time since I've crossed it, but anyway.
Well, I mean, but like you say, they can just put a bulldozer out there and build a parking bay out there. But on this side of the country, the parking bays that we got, they're taken out, and so the highway isn't up to national standards. So the guys are trying to comply with a system that isn't even compliant itself. In that you can't get a rest somewhere, and at the moment, you can't get a feed or a shower in a lot of places. They've fixed all that up, but they kicked all the grey nomads out of the caravan parks and sent them out onto the highway, and truck drivers are competing with them for spots.
Well, can I just simply try my 2 bobs worth here, mate? Being a West Aussie, and I was part of the work when we set up the fleet management here in WA. Must have discussed the trucking fraternity over here because we didn't have fatigue management. But it took us about 6 years to do it before we got it finalised and we got it put into law, and it was a shitload of consultation, mate. But I was, as I said, I was on the working group for the whole 6 years. But one thing I was determined was I'd only done probably about 20 trips over it, I think, at the most. And what I worked out with the greatest of respect for our mates in the eastern states, and there's some wonderful parts of Australia over there, but the last thing I wanted to do was drive trucks in the eastern states because of the bullshit regimented systems that you guys had over there. It was just what I do, but the hell wanted to be a truck driver running in the eastern states with all the shit that went on. Listen, WA, mate, the trucking industry is highly regarded because, one, we're a big part of, we're a big state, we're a third of the nation. But here's another thing too, mate. Rail is not competitive in this state. We're it. And there is no state ships. They're gone now. So the majority of freight, apart from bulk out of the mine, some of the mines, excuse me, it is road transport. So we are regarded highly over here.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, mate.
Yeah.
When I see in the eastern states, people like to talk about trains, and you got this, mate, I'm doing a Senate inquiry into the inland rail. We should do a podcast on that one day when we take that. Anyway, that's
I mean, look, the rail's got its place. And the rail, but it doesn't have a 48-hour freight task for general, and it never will.
48.
Yeah.
Mate, you want to read the second Hansard of the inquiry of being in inland rail? They want 24.
From Melbourne to Brisbane in 24.
24. Well, that's including loading and unloading.
Oh, yeah?
Mate, this is just absolute. You can't make this shit up, Steve.
Well,
okay, this is what the government's come out and said here to, $3 billion or whatever it was, probably halfway there, to run a railway line from out of Melbourne to Acacia Ridge. Yeah. And the trucking, and they're falsely saying it'll be viable. This is their words, mate. I'm seriously. I'll pinch myself in my dream. So the trucking industry will use it because they have a 24-hour pickup and delivery. Anyway, and they're saying that there could be up to 40 trains a day.
Oh, yeah.
Ranging from 1.5 to 1.8 kilometres long.
Okay.
Sounds like I'm making this up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And this is to get to Acacia Ridge. Don't ask me what happens when I get to Acacia Ridge. because in that spend for the inland rail, and I have this on Hansard straight from the Australian Rail Track Corporation, that there is not 1 cent of that money going to any road infrastructure in Acacia Ridge. There you go, mate.
Yeah, well,
great job.
I think they built an overpass on that Bow Desert Road there over the rail. But where's it going to go? Where are all the trains going to go? There's nowhere in. It's all built out in there.
Good question. I'm not a Brisbane.
Just a big super loop. Why don't they build a big super loop underground and just keep it away? Keep it away from the surface.
Well, why don't we just start making sensible discussions? Ideas like that, Steve.
Well, here's the thing. Back before safety cams were a thing, right? Right,
yep.
And before we had computerised trucks, you could do Dandenong to Rockley in 18 hours, right? That's with a break and a shower and fueling up, having half an hour over the wheel as well, right?
The good old days, eh?
But you can't do that now because of the traffic volume. Like at night, we used to go hard at night. You go up through Dubbo and that because I'm a Dubbo boy. But now, what they're doing in Dubbo particularly is they want to put a bridge, a second bridge, going through over the Macquarie River there.
Yep.
Now it's in a flood area, and it doesn't. Oh, you're aware of it, yeah?
I'm aware of it. Someone came and saw me in Canberra 5-6 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
brought it to my attention.
Now there's going north. It should turn off there at Obley Road, go out the back of West Dubbo there around the airport and come back out there on Troy Bridge near the Abattoir and go all the way around Dubbo and nowhere near the river and keep it away from that rail line. But I don't know why they would think about even putting the trucks to keep going through Dubbo. There's nowhere to stop and have go to the toilet. You can't even stop and have a feed there now. There's nowhere.
See, I made this statement, and it wasn't a throwaway line, but you would have thought that it was the reaction I got. And I said to them, if you're going to build roads or railways, why don't you ask the people to use them? Wouldn't that be a first good step? And I said that very early in the piece that, if you want to build roads that are suitable, fit for purpose, bypasses, highways, no matter what they are, go and ask the boys and girls who are on the bloody things, or the ones that will be using it, what's the best thing? Oh, God, oh, by the way, it reminds me, sorry, mate, I did that Toowoomba bypass.
How'd you go with that?
I was in shock. I was actually in shock. I was sitting in a car going up. I was with another senator who got off to do the rail inquiry at Millmerran, that's right. Yeah. And as we're going up the climb, and I'm thinking, this is a magnificent piece of road, but if the truck breaks down, where's it going to pull off?
Yeah, there's 41 kilometres with no parking bay.
I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking, hang on, if you shoot an engine or a gearbox or something, I think, what are you going to do? And I said that I hope I'm wrong, but gee whiz, I'd hate to think what would happen, mate. You get your triangles or your cones out pretty quick, but Christ almighty, you've got a big lump of steel sitting halfway on the road.
Well, in 1999, when I was a young man, back before the turn of the millennium, right, bottom of the Toowoomba Range, copped a B-double cattle crate head on, full of cattle, and should have killed me. But I don't know why. Compared to his injuries, there was nothing wrong with me. And and the guy is a Dubbo boy as well, from a company in Dubbo. So there was a lot of things that happened that day that took me back to Dubbo. But one of the things is I wrote an opinion piece in the local Toowoomba paper about the Toowoomba Range being a lot like the crossing at Mount Victoria, the Great White Range in New South Wales. And how it's a 40 kilometre an hour zone, the Toowoomba Range should be 40 for trucks, and it just went as an opinion piece and nothing happened, right?
Yep.
So I get back to work. 2 months later, I'm going up the range, and another guy gets killed. Just up on the saddle, halfway up, right? Young guy from Pittsworth. was working there, had a bit of a whoopsie, and so yeah, he lost his life there too. Now, they spent how much money on that bypass at Toowoomba now, the 41 kilometre one?
Oh, I don't know.
But
I don't know what it was, but
how can they build it and have them PBS trains running on it, right? Where they don't have a sleeper berth, right, to get the length in.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How can they do that without it being like a criminal element when someone dies on there?
Mate, I'll just go back to this, okay? I'll go back to this. I think you got to be joking. There's this magnificent piece of infrastructure that's missing a lane.
Yeah, like they could have rode Hannafy or me or you or anyone that's ever drove a truck and just say, how many parking bays you got on it?
That's what I noticed, because going up, and I'd said to the other senator, I said, for crying out loud, I'd hate to think of something shit itself out here. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, there you go, mate.
Yeah. But I mean, the 41 kilometres of new stretch there, I mean, that's the good bit. Once you get off at the other side and you go out that Gore Highway, yeah, it's like you're riding in a boat.
Was I on that when I went to Millmerran?
Yeah.
Right, okay, I've got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would have. It's not the smoothest bit of road out there across that black soil there.
Across that big floodplain, but it's not the widest, is it?
No.
Yeah.
And you
still
got the trucks crossing the rail there. East side of Millmerran, they come along the track, and then you sort of veer left and veer right so you can cross the track there. Is that the track that's going to be going into Brisbane?
Oh, I think, look, let me just say I'm not sure, mate.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side, I don't know if it's going to be upgraded or not, or if it's going to be fine. No, it's going across the floodplain. I know it's going across.
Yeah.
So it's probably all new stuff, mate.
Yeah.
Put it this way, we do some crazy stuff in building roads. But this goes back to this thing, they don't have to talk to us because we don't make a lot of noise, and when we do make a lot of noise, the only noise it's made is when some poor bugger's been killed, and people like to blame trucks for it, and it's not our fault, or we've rolled over or something. It's all bloody truckies. That's the only time we get attention, mate.
Yeah.
And it's all completely wrong.
Yeah.
So we've got to get our act together.
Well, how many truckies have to die in Michael McCormick's electorate before he will change his mind about it? Because he's down there at Wagga and that, and his electorate probably touches one side of the Hume there, I'd say, or at least he'd have the gold and the Olympic coming in there. So plenty of fatalities on them roads. Like, surely you must have to address that at some stage, have a local thing down there or something that we can say, hey, these things are happening around your area.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you think, mate. But also on this too, Steve, not only every road death is a shocking situation, any road death, but when it's closer to home. And I get all that because let me tell you this, Steve. People might say, "Oh, you're just saying that because you're a poly." No, I live and breathe this shit, mate. My young bike's out there. My son's pulling triple stuff to the Pilbara. Excuse me. And mate, when I hear there's a head-on or a rollover, let me tell you, my arse drops.
Yeah.
Now, and I've got to say this, mate. I never realised what I put my wife through. Because we didn't have mobile phones, and she heard there was a rollover or a head-on involving trucks in the Pilbara or the Kimberley going back to the 80s. I never realised what put my mum through. I never realised what my dad put my mum through. So I get this, mate. I absolutely, from my heart, it just grabs my bloody throat, mate, when I hear that.
Yeah.
And when I hear road deaths out there, and I've lost a couple of mates too. Yeah. Through rollovers. And prams. Not that many, because in the West, we didn't have the volumes of traffic that you have on these seaboard. It doesn't matter. So every time I hear there's another truck death, it doesn't make me feel any better.
Yeah. Well, my brother-in-law, Brian, who got his neck broken there, carting hay in New South Wales not long ago, he had to get bit of bone cut out of his hip, and then they cut open his throat and moved the esophagus to the side and jammed the bit of bone into where his spine, where the spine and the neck used to be. So he's up and on his feet, but you wouldn't say that he was, back on his feet at all. But, he's not in a chair and all that kind of thing.
So he's still with you?
Yeah, mate, yeah.
That's a good start.
Yeah, yep.
That's a good start.
Yep. So, hopefully with the lack of traffic on the road, we see a dramatic drop in the numbers of fatalities. And that's what I'm seeing from just the media. They're not reporting on it, but from what I can find, they're far and few between now.
Good. Well, there's, at the moment, Steve, one thing we do know, there is a greater challenge to the world and the nation at the forefront of most people's minds. When we do get through this evil, nasty thing that we're confronted with, life will go on again.
Yeah.
And I've got to tell you, mate, I'm going to do my best to try and get the truckies fired up. Actually think, that we cannot keep going. We need to address this. And as I say, and I hope I'm wrong, I'd said to someone the other day, one of the truckies that I was talking to, I said, I bet my house and your house, mate, that when this is all over, we'll go back to being the bottom feeders and everyone will want to cut our rates. He said, I'm not taking that bet on me.
No, people aren't that stupid. All right, here's the thing about this free childcare and this doubling of the New Start, right? The doubling of the New Start could have been done before this pandemic, right? They could have drought-proofed Australia with the Bradfield project. They could have subsidised farming. They could have been pumping fresh water in from the ocean. Australia doesn't have a freshwater problem. It's got a salt problem. We're surrounded by as much water as you ever need. You just need to pull the salt out of it and you're good to go. So we have that technology.
Yep, we've got 200 in WA, mate.
Yep. So
2 desalination plants, 20 years ago.
Yep. So, I guess the public opinion's gone away from a royal commission into the bushfire because now this new thing's the big shiny object that everyone's looking at. So, is the bushfire going to go away and not really be relevant? Probably.
Yeah, well, just one of those poor buggers that went through that, mate. I don't know. Anyway,
yeah,
that was terrible. So people are still suffering from that.
Yeah. Well, that was a terrible thing, but instead of being able to send people into the field to take data on wildlife and all that kind of stuff, everyone's kind of in this thing for a minimum of 90 days or more.
Or more. Yeah, that's right. Well, life, as I said, Steve, once this is all over, I've still got a lot of work to do, mate. I still want to get back onto our high horse around what we're going to do for the trucking industry, how we're going to fix it up, how we're going to get paid properly, and how we're going to get paid on time, and what do we do about truck bays, and where we're going to find our next cohort of drivers from.
Yeah.
Because they're certainly not coming out of the trucking families, are they? Like they used to.
Well, actually, there's a young guy. There's a young boy, right? He's 6.
Yeah.
Right. Toby Carter from Carter's Heavy Haulage, right? Dad's got a brand new 900 Kenworth. You should see it. It's amazing, this thing. But his mum put a video of him up there sitting on Dad's lap, reversing the 900, hooking the trailer up seamlessly, right? And even though it's such a terrible time, it's things like that get you through that. By the time he's 18, he's going to have 12 years experience.
Don't say it aloud, because some of the zealots in the law enforcement might pick it up, keep an eye out for him, mate.
Oh, they'll go for the parenting jugular, but but there's so many things at the same time. Like there's a guy, Dave Murphy, who's got a fridge van, right? That's longer than a B double, carries more freight than a B double, has 50% greater thermal capacity in the walls and roof, it decreases loading time of a B-double by 50%.
How long is it?
It's the fridge van's 20.5 metres long, carries 38 pallets. So it's the one fridge van's longer than a B-double. Right, under PBS, it's quad trailer with 2 steerable axles on the trailer, and it's a quad Kenworth with twin steer, right? So he's getting a 50% thermal increase in his walls and roof. So he's running one fridge motor for 38 pallet spaces. So he's made B-doubles fridge vans obsolete. You don't have to roll back an A-trailer. You never have to split for a dock. You load on one dock and you go. And that's it.
Where's he run?
It's in Sydney. He told me last week that he was going to get it on the road this week just gone, but I'm guessing with COVID and things like that. But the potential just the aerodynamic gain of running the one trailer instead of two, and the aerodynamics that he's got built on this prime mover and into the trailer. The back of the trailer has some kind of wind catcher deflector thing that he's going to revolutionise this industry. So there's that, and that makes me excited about the future going forward. But then my mates get killed, and I want to give up. I want to give up and just say, nah. How can I change it? Surely they're worth more than the award, Glenn. That's all I think.
Well, my only fear is, mate, and I'll go back to my earlier statement, every time, and I hope I'm wrong, but every time, I won't be wrong, every time that we revolutionise and we, all in the name of productivity, the bastards who pay us at the top of the supply chain then just want cheaper freight. That's the only sad part. That's when the industry's got to stand up and say, no more.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to do, mate. It's hard to police amongst our own.
Yeah.
That is, because there's not laws in the land. And there is no tool in the land that says you're doing the wrong thing, we're going to smack you on the ear now. And I said this earlier, as part of the going into the next election, mate, and the last election, part of my work there will be enforcement, mate. I'll make no secret about that. And guess what? The enforcement's got to go up the chain. So if you have a trucking operator, an owner-driver, or a company, whatever, and the client comes out and says those 3 most insulting words, sharpen your pencil, well, you know what, mate? At the moment, you have to now or you lose the work. It's pretty simple. And my plan is very clear, consulting with the industry, which I will do, to say, no, you're not going to be able to do that. And look, mate, pretty simple. If the client forces a deal, we go for the client. That's what you do. You go for the economic employer at the top of the chain, mate. Not the poor bloody truck driver or the poor company that's gone out and invested all this money in equipment, specialised trailers, specialised warehouses, and then they get shoved by these arseholes at the top.
Yeah. I don't. There's certain things you can get out of it, like the guys that are underpaying and not paying the right money to their long-term drivers and all that. Look, all these major companies that decide to put their hand up conveniently just before this pandemic to say, we underpaid our staff by $30 million or whatever it is. All right?
Yeah.
Now, surely we can claw back some of that and punch it into this, rebuilding the fatigue areas. Because the road's 1,000 kilometres long, how come the bunk has to be 36 inches?
Yeah. Got no bugger.
Well, surely we can get an exemption in to make that fatigue combat area exempt.
Well, anything's possible, Steve, with the political acumen, mate, and the political will.
No.
The political will's not there. I hear a lot of people talk, mate,
Well, a ton of guys say the same thing. That
sorry?
a ton of guys say to me that the sleeper berth should be exempt. Should be able to have as big a bed as you want, right? Yeah. And, I mean, people say to me, oh, yeah, but then you'll get guys with these huge, big sleepers going into Mascot, trying to load at Mascot, right? In the middle of Sydney. Now, it's a bullshit argument, right? Because most drivers aren't going to go out and build a huge, big shed and stretch their chassis, right? They're going to put something a little bit bigger, a little bit more comfortable, and, you know, you'll get the guys that'll be extravagant, like anywhere. But in the meantime, surely the statistics of fatigue-related accidents and the fatigue this and fatigue that while this pandemic's on, that at least give them the opportunity to have a better rest while they can.
Well, so it goes back to this, mate. Politicians can't wait to get a photo of them sitting in a brand new truck, whether it be the manufacturers or whether it be company, while they're announcing something which is normally nothing to do with improving the betterment of transport operators, normally because they're dropping some bullshit law so they can get wider loads from a certain area or something. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
But why are the same politicians there saying, you know, while we're at it, what is this about the 36-inch bars? What's all this noise being made that we should have bigger sleeping areas? They're not interested. There's no pressure on them.
Yeah.
It's just the truth of the matter. There is absolutely no pressure, because when we have a whinge or a gripe like that, and I'll turn it back up towards you now, Steve, where the hell do you go?
Yeah, well, there's nowhere. There's nowhere. The very
It's not a perfect system, mate. Nowhere to take your complaint.
well, the RSRT was the very first time that truck drivers had ever had a place to go to where it was free. It was free.
Right.
And here's the thing about what my problem is with the whole thing is that the 30-day payment thing, right? Now they try and make out that it's a big thing, right? 30 days, and it is. Don't get me wrong, but 30-day payments were mandated in 2014 under federal law, and anyone that was against it then can't possibly be pushing for it now, because that they spent so many millions of dollars to throw it out. So you can see the reciprocating work where first of all they'll fight it, then they'll make themselves another 5 years.
Steve, you mean trucking companies and organisations?
Yeah, the organisations mainly, the ones that actually don't have nothing to do with transport, like the Australian Federation of Employers or the Master Builders Association or the Tasmanian Chamber of Commerce. Like, they're the ones that have their barristers throw their hands up, and they get more of a say because they say, oh, you know, we're the Tasmanian Chamber of Commerce and we represent, you know, how many 10,000 businesses. Yep.
Let me tell you this, mate. If there is a change of government in the next election, and I'm the Minister for the road safety, they won't be having any say.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I made it very clear prior to the last election, mate. The ones who'll be having a say are the boys and girls who do it. And this is what, mate, apart from a couple of organisations, I'm telling you, mate, on my heart, across my heart here, have completely crossed the lexicon. They've come to the other side of the argument. Some have even been mature enough to say to me in private conversations, I won't say who they were, that they've got conned.
Yeah.
And it was silly to do it. And that's why they want to work with me.
Yeah.
Because the golden opportunity, we should have fixed the problem that we had there rather than throw the whole darn thing out.
Yeah.
While certain transport operators, right, were licking their lips at the thought of keeping the Wild West open and running where they can pay whatever they want.
Yeah.
Screw whoever they want. And some of these mouths still out there in senior positions in some organisations, proudly bragging how there's nothing there for the trucking companies and the truck drivers. Having our awards night, all talking shit anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but these are the same organisations that say, we deal with industrial relations, not industrial matters.
You got it, amigo.
Yeah. So, and you sit next to Tony Sheldon in the Senate. He spent a long, long time at the head of the TWU, right? So, and him and Jerry Brownsar went on TV 20 years ago, right? And argued against the Retail Traders Association back then, and they were arguing against a mandatory code of conduct, and that a voluntary code of conduct was all that they needed. And Tony Sheldon argued in that interview that they were already flouting the system. Right?
Never works, mate.
All right.
You know that.
Now, so I see it when I watch Parliament.
Voluntary, I meant, not mandatory, voluntary.
Yeah, it was voluntary. It was a voluntary code of conduct that they'd spent years saying, oh no, we don't need legislation, we just need a voluntary code of conduct and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then, it pressured on and went through to the Quinlan report to what we've got now. So doing, I don't know. Is Scott Morrison the worst Prime Minister of all time?
Let me just put it this way. Can I just do this, Steve? While we're combating this terrible pandemic, I'd rather leave the conversation till later, mate. I'd rather say let's do our best and unite around the country as everyone has, and let's get through this. But let me just put this to you. When this is all over and done, life will be different again. We'll go back to how we knew it before. God only knows. None of us know that.
Yeah.
But one thing I do know is that our trucking industry will once again have the living daylights squeezed out of it. Once again, we will find transport operators will go broke left, right and centre, and no one will shed a tear in camp. But if there's other industries that go broke, and we've seen it, certain industries, they can't wait to rally around and throw government taxpayer dollars at them. Well, you know what, mate? Our truckies are taxpayers as well. We don't want taxpayer dollars thrown at us. What we want is the ability to go out to work, do what we do good and what we enjoy doing, come home safely to our families and get bloody paid. So I'll just leave any commentary around all that just to channel where I want to go. Once we've sorted out this mess that we've got at the moment. So
I guess it's a shame that we can't take digs at him at the moment because there's so many things that you could punch him in the face over, like the sport rot and all the other things that seem to have gone by the wayside, and over this thing where you got people afraid and the whole world is looking to him every night for answers, and he seems to do a good job, but where are we going to be on the other end of it? Yeah,
well, the state leaders are all doing a good job, and there was a terrible slip up in New South Wales with that bloody Ruby Princess.
Oh, yeah.
Tapped my head over, but, I'll talk from WA, mate.
Yeah.
And our bloke over here is doing a magnificent job. No one's arguing, mate. We're all, mate, you know what? Let's just get through this. Let's try and survive it.
Yeah.
And let's just be mindful that our truckies are at the coalface.
Yeah. Well,
doing what they do best.
Well, I mean, after all this is over, right, from what I hear, right, here's the best bit of news out of WA that I've got lately, is that I hear that the largest gold deposit, bigger than the super pit at Kalgoorlie's, maybe possibly up there in the north area there somewhere.
You're just trying to tell to get the shares up.
But if that's true, I mean, here's the thing for him to finally open up the northwest, finally open it up properly, get rid of this fly in, fly out, build a whole regional community network up that west coast and finally bring it to the world for how beautiful it is. Because, like, you go over there and it's not like the East Coast where you can appreciate all the little spots. In WA, it just hasn't been built up and shown to how good it is. Like, I know you've got your quarantine and like to keep all people from the east out, but
it's a record-proof fence, mate. That's why we built it. See?
Yeah, but it's definitely
the eastern staters out.
Yeah, it's definitely a hidden secret over there. It's definitely a hidden secret over there.
It's our secret.
Yep.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But this way, mate, there's a bloke used to run up there for my living.
Yep.
This is before FIFO.
Yep.
And, mate, we had a very active transport industry. We still do. But let me tell you, there was thriving communities, mate. There were schools, there were sporting groups, and social groups. And, yes, anyway.
Yep. Well,
I don't know about this gold mine. I'll have to talk to you off air, eh? You know more than I do. What's going on there?
Well, you know, I'm looking for all the silver linings, and I mean, the super pit over there, it's the greatest thing. I mean, you know, you've been there and seen it. Oh, it's amazing. I wish that if they can build that, what is it, 160 or 1,600 different claims make up the super pit. And if they can get together and build that, then surely we can get together 208,900 truck drivers or how many companies and organise the dots on the map where these parking bays goes and where these changeover centres need to take place, where drivers can rest safely and see a doctor and all that kind of stuff if they can, because at the moment they're pushing to the limit, I'm sure.
Well, there's no lack of good people trying to do a lot of good things out there, led by yourself and by Rod Hannity, and others, so there's no argument about that. Let's just hope once this is all over and done with, mate, we can unite the industry, or fire up the industry, as speaking as well. Let's identify it. It's not hard. Our main key issues. And I know I can try and make it sound easy, but it is easy. Identify our key issues. I know what I'll be doing on a federal level, mate, or national level. I know what I'll be taking to the next election. I know what I'll be putting to the trucking industry. And the first thing will be consultation. It will be, and I've said that very clearly, I'll be consulting. Those who don't want to work with me, well, they don't have to. That's fine. But they're not going to stop the ones that do want to work with me. I'm not going to allow a few self-interested people, for whatever reason that they have that suits their business, is not going to derail improving this industry and get it heard in Canberra and put into legislation clearly some things that will improve our industry, mate. Improve the safety and improve the profitability and the sustainability of all our decent, hard-working men and women in this great nation, mate, in this wonderful industry. It's got to change.
I've got 3 words, right? This is all you need to fix the entire industry, right? Just these 3 words. Right?
Okay.
Money.
Yes.
Pride. Because all truck drivers want to do is take pride in their work. Most of the truck drivers I know don't really do it for the money. They do it because they love it, right?
That's right.
The money is secondary and it pays the bills. They drive trucks for $1, right? A lot. Or because they take pride in their work and they love to do it.
True.
Yeah?
Yep. So
I've got money, I've got pride. What's the third one?
The rest is just appreciation. Appreciation from the community for the work that they do and the hours that they put in to serve the community in all the ways, not just from presenting a nice truck or a nice fleet, but going to all these convoys for kids and the convoys for the memorials and having a good public image and going into these schools and teaching kids about blind spots when they're riding to school, and so that they can interact safely and all that kind of stuff, so that they're seen as a human being and not just this big scary truck. There's a man in that truck that knows what he's doing, and you need to make sure that he can see you, and so that it puts a human face on it.
Not hard, mate.
Well,
not hard, is it?
Well, it's not, but I don't know. Here's the thing, I don't know about a lot of things because I haven't got a law degree, but when you can argue for years about the terminology, if it's this word, if it's owner-driver, if it's independent contractor, and one, a related individual does that mean my cousin, or does that mean someone related in the business? And they argue on these points as being relevant to dismissing this legislation or that regulation as being a valid point, right? And that's where they get their power from, these associations, by saying, oh, it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that, and they try and form the narrative, and that's where it separates the drivers from, well, the drivers are sick of not having parking bays, that's clear. Or the drivers are sick of the amount of deaths in the industry, that's clear from the drivers. But when it doesn't come from the drivers, it comes from their owners who want to put a professional face on their new fleet that they have a really high standard for, and they haven't ever been involved in an accident or had a claim. But the guy down the road with the rented truck and the borrowed trailer with no insurance that kills a whole family wrecks it for everyone.
Well, yes it does, of course it does, Steve, but let's not forget this too, mate. And you are spot on, you're absolutely right. But look at this way too. What about the ones who aren't doing the right thing? You know, and regardless of, I mean, you know, like we said about death, it's just unforgivable. But what about the ones that actually go out there and they are flying under the radar? They have taken the work off a reputable company. Now this is getting into the prickly end, which we all know. This is the elephant in the room that we don't like to talk about. The one that's not doing the right thing, not paying the drivers, even to the bloody minimum award, which is shite, and then pinching the work of good people up the road.
Yeah.
And you know what, mate, we live in, you know, price and service, we get all that. There's no problem about that.
Yeah.
But when there is blatant breaking of the laws and no enforcement, I mean, where the hell does government end? I've got to tell you this, Steve, if you didn't pay your tax, the bastards would come after you. You know that.
Yeah.
You didn't pay your rego bill, the bastards would be coming after you. We know how that works. So what's the difference when someone absolutely flouts the industrial legislation laws around minimum payments and government's taking the stuff?
Yeah.
How do we work that out?
This is where I'm saying about having an administrative a body like a Federal Motor Carriers Safety Administration that provides accreditation to each company and to each driver, so that they can accredit the company onto the network, onto the road network, and accredit the driver to be on the network as well, and that it all goes through the Carriers Association or administration, that the rate and the EBA, and if there's an accident, the ATSB, and all the reports, if it's a death, it's the coroner, and the insurance, and all those things to go into one central hub, so that if a company is flouting the law, they lose their accreditation. If it's just that driver that's flouting the law, he gets his accreditation disendorsed. So that, yeah, you can go and rent a truck to move house, but you can't commercially move without this accreditation. So the driver's got an accreditation number. Each truck has its own accreditation number. So the company has its own number, the truck has its number, and the driver has a number. And any of those three numbers can create an incident report through the carrier administration that something's happened, and tag those three numbers. Here's my number, here's the truck number, here's the company number, and generate a report, whether it be a fatality, whether it be haven't been paid for 90 days, haven't, any of these disputes can go to a place that has its accreditation then checked. And if they're blatantly breaking the law and defect after defect after defect, you can get rid of them.
Well, I reckon you've just frightened the living daylights out of the odd association or two in this nation, Steve.
Well,
one thing, and you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But one thing I do say, mate, whatever, I've got a very clear view where I want to see it head to. I want to and will continue to consult widely. I will work with people that want to work with me. I will not waste a nanosecond on people who are absolutely opposed, because they're not going to put it off the rails. But I think there are a number of very simple steps that can be taken to to improve our lot. One very, very clearly, mate, as we talked about. We fix up the payment side, and you watch a lot of, like a domino effect, a lot of the other things will start falling into place. I honestly believe that. And I'll go back to this simple thing, the amount of truck drivers. You heard it in Steve, you would have heard it in the hearing in Albury.
Yep.
The amount of truck drivers that are not getting paid while they load and unload because they want to save their hours for driving.
Yep. Well, 2013.
What the hell?
2013, I walked into the House of Representatives Petition Committee with Anthony Albanese's piece. 40 hours a week, he wrote. Some drivers are waiting 40 hours a week to load or unload, unpaid. That was in 2013, right? That was at a chipboard factory down at Tumut there. Right? So 40 hours a week back then unpaid because the rate is the rate. If you get there and there's 10 trucks in front of you, well, good luck.
Yeah, or stiff shit.
Yeah. And that's still, I'm pretty sure that'd still be the policy because, you know.
Oh, no doubt. I remember when it came into the wharf in Crown when we started, they brought in slots. Now, good, bad, indifferent, and I can't talk about it now because it was a long, long time ago. I haven't been involved in any of that for over 15 years now. But let me tell you, the winch that was coming, shit, the employers, everyone, oh, God, the clients will have to, it'll send us broke. You know what it did? It got them to pull their friggin' finger out, mate. That's what it did.
Yep.
It actually got them to say, it's not right for truck drivers to be 6, 7, 8 hours waiting for a load. And it is amazing. They just all went zip, zip, zip. Anyhow, there's been a few rough edges to it. They have to be ironed out and all that. And you miss your slot, well, bugger me, then you're back at the queue.
Yep.
But it took a while. A lot of this crap is sitting around not getting paid.
Yeah.
So it's not hard, is it?
No, well, I mean, that's why
I'll find the easiest, shortest distance between 2 points, mate.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see it a bit differently because I know that, I mean, don't think that I'm a complete conspiracy theorist, but the Australian Logistics Council, it has a lot of sway behind the scenes, and I think that it would be kind of like the military-industrial complex of Australia in a way that they have so much power, all the ports, all the airports, all the rail, all the pallet companies, IBM and all these, Amazon. Like, how does someone like me or the TWU or even Nat Road, if you join us all together, how do you compete against Amazon and IBM and McDonald's and all the rest in one conglomerate like that?
Easy. Bring in legislation. No, seriously, Steve. We bring in legislation that says this is the law. If you want to go under that law, we're going to put you on the head with a fine or whatever it might be. But I know it. I make it sound simplistic. So if there's laws and then you have enforcement behind those laws, then there is. See, in this nation, there's more penalty by doing the right thing than there is doing the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah.
In the trucking industry, you're far more rewarded to break the laws.
Yeah.
Like, don't pay your people. Pay them 60 days, 90 days, 120. Who cares? What's someone going to do to me? So what I'm saying is, mate, there is a way. And I have that. I seriously know that we have the legislation. See, this will come down to this. What a trucking company decides to charge for the job is their business. That is of no business to any government, mate. No, none at all. But if a trucking company goes in there, and I'm making these figures up, and says, we're going to do this for $100 a tonne, and the cost is $120 to do it. If they want to lose money, as long as they're paying their subcontractors the right money, which we will have something there, and as long as they're paying the drivers no less than what is the national limit, which will be the award, which I still think should be a lot higher than that. You want to go broke, go broke. But it ain't going to come out of your drivers or your contractors or your subbies. But let me tell you, if you go and use them, and then you try and fleece the drivers or the owner drivers or the other company, there's penalties. And guess what? It'll go up the chain to your employer, to your contractor, to your client. That's what we do, mate. Now, this may sound out there and all that. It's not out there. What is wrong with that? And seriously, if I was a trucking operator, what's the fear there? That's what I want. Because we have no safety nets. There's no protection for us. The government, I sit in the Senate, Steve, I saw it go through. I congratulated the government earlier this year saying, good on you, because they brought in anti-phoenixing. But guess what? It's only in the construction industry. And I said to them, go further. Go to any industry. Because nothing gets up my goat more than those arseholes that we know that go broke and then start up the next day with the same trucks, just got the different name on them, or the wife's got a company, a $2 company or some crap. I don't, you know it happens.
All right.
You know it happens.
All right. Here's a tough question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who is paying Michaelia cash to be that dumb to say, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry, I'll just do nothing about it now, right? Like someone obviously, like there's a lobby group or something that's switched her on, surely, or set her up with something in the future.
Do you mean over the abolition of the RSA?
Yeah.
Oh, you would.
But I mean, but she's still responsible now, yeah? She's still responsible now. Like during this pandemic.
No, she's training now.
Oh, she's training. So whose workplace relations?
Yeah, they're amazing. I do know. It's just escaped me at the moment. My God, it was industrial relations.
Well, I guess Michaelia Cash has dodged that bullet now then. She can just say, oh, it's not my responsibility. It's not.
You just stumped me. I know it's in the lower house, not the Senate anymore. Hang on, I have to regroup on that one. Anyway, I'd say there was a few. Look, I have no idea, but I think you and I could probably assume there was a few organisations that were in her ear. Some proudly post about it. Some have got photos. You go to some of the Facebook, there they are. They're not doing this.
Yeah, I never seen any of those people at any of these facilitated conferences over 4 years. I never saw any of them.
No, but there's the odd transport operator in there that can't wait to get a photo taken.
Yeah.
Around that time, yes. Yes, anyway.
Yeah.
They tell me her husband was a good bloke. There you go.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a whole other... Well, you know, there's lots of rumours about that. Like, one of her...
this is a family show.
No, well, you know, I mean, here's not a rumour, it's an actual fact that one of that particular company's personnel in the tie-wearing, non-driving aspect was convicted and sentenced to prison for dealing drugs there. That's an actual fact. There's quite a few companies that are still going that have had managers go from having huge drug number sales in the fleet to jail terms, and that got stamped out. It's been stamped out through so much enforcement. But I don't get why they're so against the raising of the industry standards. It would serve their own purposes.
I have no idea, mate. Sometimes I sit there and think maybe it's me, maybe I'm missing something. But no, it ain't me.
I'm missing an aeroplane ticket to Hamilton Island for these conferences and stuff. Like, how do they do that? Like, how do they make it so impossible for a guy like me, a driver, to attend their conference when they have it at Phillip Island at a 5-star resort or Hamo or somewhere else?
Although I was at Phillip Island at a 5-star, but I was at a resort.
Yeah.
Speaking probably 8 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yes. But I only just went down this week and then I had to get to Canberra, mate.
Yeah.
But they're actually supportive. They're one of the good guys. They want to fix it.
When do you go back to work? Like back into Canberra, or are you on a lockdown?
August, mate.
Oh, really? Wow.
They're saying August. So once we've got the all clear,
Yep.
travel and do all that again and back to normal,
Yep.
we will, we've got to go back through the Senate for all our inquiries. You know I'm not going to let go of the transport inquiry, mate. And I was really spewing missing that day in Brisbane.
Oh.
But as it worked out, mate,
Yep.
which I didn't put into writing, but I need to share this transport families, mate, that were going to PR. I was flying out on the Sunday morning to Brisbane to get to Brisbane Sunday afternoon. I had a Inland Rail hearing or some other hearing for Great Barrier Reef, I think on the Monday, and I was trucking one on the Tuesday, I think it was. Or the other way around, whatever it was anyway. So I'd had a real good bout of gastro on Saturday.
Oh. Yep.
And I thought, this is going to be interesting getting on the plane. But anyway, apart from shrink wrapping myself, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was leaving home here at 8:30, and I had a phone call at 7:30. No, it was an SMS. And it was my co-chair, Senator Susan McDonald from Queensland, LNP Senator. And she had messaged me saying that she couldn't make it because she was crook. And, of course, I need quorum, which means I need at least one of the opposition, one of the government, so we can get everything on record with taking evidence. So I rang her up and said, look, okay, if you can't be there. I said, what's up? And she said she had been tested for coronavirus.
Oh, yeah.
And I went, my God. And I was only with her the 2 weeks before at Senate estimates. Because we'd spent 2 days in the same room, 14 hours a day.
Oh.
And then I thought, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because then I was getting on a plane, 300 or 250 people on an aeroplane, plus drivers, plus airport staff, plus, oh my, and that was just the start of it.
Yep.
And as it worked out, she didn't know if she had been tested. And I said, that's it, we can't afford to take that chance, we'd be coming in, I'll be going up across, not I'm worried about me, but who would I infect if I did have it,
Yep.
Because that's what I'm talking about, self-isolate and staying inside.
Yep.
I thought, geez, how can I live with myself if I got it off her as well? As it worked out, she came out on the Monday, she was positive. But unfortunately, I didn't get it.
Skipped a bullet. Well, you might be the immune one.
Yeah, so that's why we said, I rang the secretary and said, cancel the whole thing. Gee whiz. And rather than, I couldn't say, my co-chair might have coronavirus and I might have it too because I've been with her. I didn't want to send any scares around because then I'm thinking, I'd only just got home in an aeroplane 2 days before. Yeah. And I'd been to Sydney and I'd been somewhere else. I'd been to Queensland as well, I think. And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, if I spread it. So anyway, so
a lot
of my reasons why that was canned, mate.
Well, I was spewing. Don't get me wrong. I was dirty, but a lot of the guys that were coming along with me are, average truck drivers. So they're 55 and over. And they've usually spent 20 or 30 years on the ciggies. And so I'm grateful that nothing got spread around the guys that were going to come along that day and give evidence. But also it gives us a bit more of an opportunity to get the word out to drivers that while this is going on, they can still shoot you an email with what's going on and tell you exactly.
Yeah. And Steve, I want to hear from drivers. There's a lot that have said, look, I don't want to be on the record. And I said, it's all right, brother, no worries. I understand. I know how it works in this industry. But, everyone, I will have the associations, state governments, and yes, they'll all be there. Of course they will. And I'll have opposing, obviously there will be people who say that it's all bullshit and everything's Mickey Mouse. Well, they can run that argument. That's fine. Come out and say it on the public record. I'm not going to say and I'll have you say, but I do want to hear from the drivers. It just brings it back home, mate. That while we have organisations that do a fantastic job representing their members.
Oh, shit. dropped out. So there we go. Yeah, no.
Ran out of, I've got an air leak. Yeah.
No worries. Yeah. Bloody technology.
More drivers we hear from, the better. And you heard, when we heard down there in Albury, what a fantastic day that was.
Yeah.
Hey, can I just take this opportunity too, mate? I want to send a message out to Chris Rowe.
Yep.
Chris is not well at the moment, so I just rang him up to say hello last weekend and got a real shock. And he's in hospital, and I'm wishing him all the very, very best for a speedy recovery.
Oh,
and
yeah.
to Jenny, his wife, and the family, and Dan. And let's hope Chris is back on board doing what he does best, move freight around the nation and tell everyone what he's thinking.
Yep, hopefully, yeah. Well, I mean, all the guys have their own episodes on the channel now, so they can just go and listen to Chris or go and listen to Rod and I'm hoping that by the time your report's all done, that all the witnesses are on there that want to be on there, and it's there because the guys people that missed it in November, they can listen to it now, and if they want to get involved, they can, or they can at least look forward to hearing other people speak about it to you and the other senators.
Yeah, of course. Yep, more voices the better, mate.
Yeah. So who are the other senators? Is Senator Hanson sitting on it?
I was hoping Senator Hanson was going to attend a Queensland hearing. Because she's busy doing other things, I really hope she does, because she's been a good supporter for me to get this, as she supported me to get the inquiry up. And
fucking dropped out again.
What's going on
it's ASIO.
I know National Road Freighters Association through Broadband Network. Tony Hopkins closer to Pauline and Senator Hanson, and they were lobbying her to support them as well. So I hope she does come. The other senators, from my side, there is Senator, Scully's off crook at the moment, but Senator Sheldon's on it, and Senator Murray Watt from Queensland, and of course my deputy chair is Senator McDonald from Queensland, LNP, Senator Gerard Rennick from the LNP in Queensland, and the Green Senator from Victoria, Senator Ross. And I'm also hoping Senator Jackie Lambie jumps in. She said she was interested, particularly around Tasmania, of course. But we're really backed up by all the crossbench. They were fantastic. Otherwise, we would have got up.
Yep. Well, I'm really happy that it is, because when I do get to finally go on record, I'll be able to mention Craig and Dominic and Daniel and Dane and Basil and Ashley and all the boys that have been killed in the lead up to this, because it just doesn't, I don't know, I just can't get it to stick somewhere, in the media that this is an actual national thing, that these guys have got a tally. There's every week they're getting added to, and it should be noticed by more than just these associations. Like the Women in Transport Australia have those ads out. Have you seen the ads with the ladies say 80% of truck driver fatalities caused by the other road users? And they're very good. It asks, would you like to spend your weekend doing this? And it shows a guy pulling a surfboard out of a panel van, and then it says, or this, and it shows some people putting a coffin into a hearse. So it's very confronting like that.
Yeah.
But I'll send you that. I'll send you those links, and I'll send you the number to the owner driver as well.
All right, mate, fantastic. And you also know, Steve, if you've got any queries, and like you said, you've got a driver who wants to talk to me, give him my number.
Yep.
Excuse me, no problem.
Yep.
And when we do get back to normality, I'll still be looking at roadhouses and opportunities to meet with drivers and hear from them town halls, so that, like that one you did that day at Archerfield, mate.
Yep.
It was was really rewarding. It was good, mate.
Yeah.
Well, a few all around the country, mate. Very happy to do that.
So do you want drivers to email just to RRAT
Yes.
.sen@aph.gov.au, yeah? And
That's the one, mate,
yep.
and then all the centres get to see it.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for so much of your time. You've given me 2 hours and given everyone 2 hours, and I think we've talked about a lot of stuff, and we're up to date on where the inquiry sort of ended up in limbo for now until a date to be fixed.
Steve, thanks for having me, mate. Look, thanks for your support and friendship through this time too, mate. It's much appreciated. You're doing a magnificent job out there, mate. And it's like, it really is. It's like banging your head against a brick wall after a few years. It starts hurting, but you've got to keep going, don't we, mate?
Well, when I was talking to Bet Phillips-Campbell a couple of days ago, we were talking about some of the hard-hitting issues, especially around suicide. And it was hard for me in a lot of ways to talk to her so openly about it. And I didn't know that Craig had been killed, and I was feeling so hopeful about the message that Betty and I was speaking about, the community getting together through these suicide walks and stuff like that, for these drivers that are taking their lives. And she rang me yesterday and she said that someone had contacted her that had heard the podcast, and so he'd found someone that could recognise what was going on with him, because there's a huge community of injured drivers that don't have an RSL. Well, we don't have an RSL to go to.
No, that's right.
So that's what's lacking for us in the after support. Once the crash is over and you go to hospital and your missus comes and picks you up, you're on your own.
I've never even thought about that. Yes, of course.
We don't have
I hadn't even thought about that. So
we don't have an injured truck drivers league or an injured transport workers association where that the RSL, the guys that served and were injured, they came back and they had the league to support them through, no matter what their injuries, no matter where they served, no matter what, they were all equal, whether you were injured or not. But it just seems that when you go to the truck show, if your truck's shiny and you're good, then that's the overall picture that they want to display. But in the background, there's a lot of crash trucks and a lot of broken drivers. And my problem I had with in the first place was with trying to get danger money for drivers, was that people would say, you can't say it's dangerous. You can't say it's dangerous. It's not, it's not a dangerous thing. It's all these other things that make it dangerous. And it's just that whole wording was their sticking point. Is, you can't call it that. Can't you call it something else? Can't you call it risk pay or hazard pay or something else? But that's what it's called. And people want to PC it up. And in the meantime, the drivers are not getting their supported by the community until we work out the exact framing of what's the PC term.
Well, what we do know, Steve, is there's a lot of good people doing a lot of good things.
Yeah.
And aren't being recognised where they should be recognised, and the support comes. And I'll tell you now, mate, as I said clearly, we have a lot of work to do. But it's a challenge, and God help us, mate, we'll get our act together.
Yep.
And when we do get our act together, people will find things will change for the better. We can't pack up stumps and go home.
Yep.
Because if we don't do it, we're going to let down a lot of other people, and that goes for all of us who are trying to do something. So while we've still got that hope and that drive and that will, I'm still living full belief that things will change for the better. But it's up to us to make it happen.
just a public perception. During the bushfires, the firefighters that were on the front line were shown as being heroic, and those that gave their life in service of the community were seen as being heroes to the community, and they were given not accolades but a certain respect by the community by having televised funerals and things like that. Now that's terribly tragic for everyone, and at the same time, in our transport community, we're having just as many deaths as what they had during the bushfires, but we're not being recognised for it. And I think if they, at least if there was a moratorium or an incentive, no, that's the wrong word too. If the costs of having the driver recognised on the wall for the family was to be waived, that somehow the community can ease that burden off the family of having their driver recognised, because it's bad enough that they're going through their loss, that it should cost them to have their family members' sacrifice recognised.
Well, why don't we recognise this? I know you're exactly what you're saying, and I didn't know the way you just told me today, because we don't have it here in WA. That's no excuse. Yep. One thing that we've screamed about is our truckies we should be treated as essential service. Essential service. Well, just what we now are.
Yep.
I also have the view that our trucking fraternity and our men and women out there that are doing it should be respected on the same terms as our first responders.
Yep.
And that's a big call, because those broadband and hospitals and fire services and police and emergency services. Well, mate, anything could happen, because the world now looks upon us, and Australia looks upon us now. It's not just big noisy and running, trying to run us off the road and travel through the night. And no, they actually know. They know, mate. We've now got the government's treating us with the respect and dignity that should come hand in hand.
Yep.
Because it is the truck drivers in Australia that are moving the valuable freight that's required, either whether it be fuel, medicine, food, clothing. So you know what, Steve? There's a target, there's a challenge, mate.
Yep.
There's something that will throw into the mix.
Yep.
And you know what? When we get this, when this is all over and done with, we've got our lives back to some form of normality.
Yep.
And where our truckies aren't out there worrying like sick are they going to get it and take it over to their families.
Yep.
Well, that's just another thing on our list, mate, that you and I need to pick up and run with, all right?
Yep. Oh, well, we'll just keep going, and I'm going to publish as much information as I can so that all the drivers can hear it and read it and be up to date, and they're going to hear what we've said today, and maybe we'll convince them to chuck a few emails together and send them in, and then by October, from the 3rd of October, we got Lights on the Hill, to the 31st of October, we got the National Truck Drivers Memorial in Tarcutta. We're going to miss out on the 2020 Truckies reunion at Alice Springs. It's called off. So we miss out on that, but we'll get a whole month of memorials. So
fingers crossed.
Hopefully we'll see you then. Well, thanks for all your time, Glenn. You've been excellent.
Thanks for having me on, mate.
All right, matey. Talk to you soon, eh?
Thanks,
all right.
Have a great work. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, mate. Ta-da. Bye. Well, there you go, everyone. Senator Glenn Sterle. Thanks for listening.